Hi there. Welcome to the Lead Relationally podcast. Let's go for a walk and join the guys as they talk about a better way to lead people.
All right, Chris and Brad here, and we are back on another walk, and glad you could join us. How you doing, Chris?
Really good. Yeah, love being out on the trail, enjoying this time.
Well, we've been diving into our 7 C's of relationships, and we're going to go through each one. So we're going to do the next one today, and that's calendar.
And this one is, in some ways, a little bit more simple than the others. They all interconnect, but I think we know that we have to schedule ourselves well. And I think there's, I don't know how many different kinds of calendars you could buy and schedulers, and whether that be using an online app or you go on to Amazon and you type in different calendars and notebooks, and there's tons available. So we're all aware that this is important and we need to schedule things well. So what are some of the relational ways of thinking through scheduling and using a calendar effectively when it comes to leading people on our teams and our people around us, and using our time wisely? And how do we give it to people? And how do we give it to tasks in meaningful ways?
Mm-hmm. Well, we know that a calendar is a tool. It's a tool that we all have to use and are forced to use, especially when we're trying to fit a lot in and we're trying to get our priorities straight. And so it should be obvious to everybody that a calendar would be a measurement of your priorities and your values and the people that are important in your life. And so one of the ways that we say that you measure a relationship is how and when does this person show up on your calendar? And so if you think about people on your team, people you have to, that you're trying to lead, you know, how much of your time do they get? And, you know, if you've got a lot of people that you're trying to care for and lead and check in with, then everybody gets scheduled, which is good. You know, we want to make time for everybody, but how they show up on the calendar is important. And so, you know, generally, I think we would agree that if you are making more time for somebody, you are prioritizing that relationship more. That person's getting more of your time. And so the relationship is further along, it's deeper, or it's more intentional than somebody that's getting less time on your calendar.
But that doesn't always equal better. Some things on your calendar, like a weekly meeting with your boss and what have you, your relationship with your boss might not be that great. And that is getting way more time than your meeting with your best friend. So some of this isn't always maybe as quite as obvious as it seems, as more times on the calendar equals better relationship. Like, I think so mostly, but some things you aren't able to prioritize. It's kind of put onto your calendar, and other things you have choices about. And we know this because Costco ends up on our calendar once a week or whatever. I don't know if we've got a great relationship with Costco. It's something that is on repeat. But we're talking about some of the other things that we do have more choices about what's going on and what's not, especially when it comes around people and the time that they get with you.
Yes, it's easy to sort of pigeonhole relationships, and we need to be intentional. We have to make sure they're on the calendar, but if we pigeonhole them, that can almost be a limiter of relationships. So say, well, I gave them an hour of my time, so I've checked that box. And it's like, well, that's true, but is there any room beyond that? And we know this is what happens with our families, right? You don't always put your family on the calendar. I think we've all seen this where it's like, sometimes we actually have to. Otherwise, everybody else steals our time. And it's like, we better put date night on the calendar, or I better put some special time in with my kids or one of my kids, or otherwise that something else steals that time. And so we sometimes realize we have to protect our time for the most important relationships in our life by actually putting them on the calendar. And that's actually a way we communicate to our loved ones. Hey, I'm prioritizing you. You're not just getting the leftover time, you know, if all my work's done, which is it's never done, not when you're leading people. You know, there's always something, and there's always more you can do with the relationships that we have at work. And so that is a way we use the calendar to communicate to our loved ones that, hey, I'm being intentional about you.
Indeed. And we don't always get it right. Like, I think every year we try and do better at this. And I think it's something that we need to practice. But what I'm hoping is by us putting it amongst the 7 C's as part of a package deal, it can help move the needle in significant ways. And we don't want to avoid this one. It gets its own focus, because I think this is another way of evaluating how are they showing up? How am I showing up for them? And if I'm going to give this more time, for what reason? Like, if I'm going to schedule more time with this person on my team, why am I doing that? What's the goal? What's the hope for that person and for me? That is a great assessment to say, oh, they need more. Why do they need more? And what would it be for? Is it just so we get on better? Or is it so I can hear them? Or so that we can work on a problem together? Like, what does this partnership and this time mean to us? And then, is it worth doing? I think it's just a great thought to have when it comes to certain relationships with certain of our teammates. So it's obviously great for your team, but it's also, I think this is just how relationships function healthily.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's not just the more someone shows up in the calendar, automatically you're going to have a better relationship with them. You're saying it's what is that time being used for? Because you could double the time with somebody, but unless you know why you're doubling it and how you're going to use that time, and then when it is too, right? So there's different times in our week that are worth more than others, right? If you think, okay, I've got my A time. Who gets my A time? Who gets my Friday night? Who gets my Saturday morning? It's like, well, hopefully our families. But there's times where someone else might get our A time because we need to give that to them for whatever reason. Or there's our B time. It's like, you are a priority, so I'm going to put this in and I'll figure out how to do the other tasks around that because I'm not going to give up that time. And then however you want to measure it, there's C time and D time, right? And sometimes maybe they don't need more time. Right. Maybe they just need a higher priority of time because that actually communicates something. Hey, you're willing to give me a little bit of time outside of office hours or whatever. Oh, I don't want to infringe on your family or things like that. It's like, yeah, and we wouldn't do it all the time, but it communicates so much to somebody about, this relationship is important to me. Your health and how you're doing is important to me. You're going to get a little bit more of my best. You're not my family, but you know what? You might get some quality time that I'm sacrificing that I could be doing other things because I care. It communicates a lot.
It really does. It shows a lot of things. I think that sometimes where it needs to be a bit creative is, like you said, if I give this person more time in the same way, it might not solve the thing. So say if I have a weekly check-in with someone, but I'm always finding that when it gets to the 45-minute mark, we're wrapping it up, but there's still 5 things more to talk about. So you never fully end the conversation or you never land the plane in a good, healthy way with them. If it's just more time to get through the last 5 things, or do you change how you use the time together and maybe ask them how you do that? And this has happened 3 times in a row. I'm now going to do it differently with this person the 4th time. So I show them that I too want to finish the conversation or I want to solve that problem with them. And so just hit and repeat when you both know there's been a lack of time or something that's not quite worked can be part of it, but it's challenging. Sometimes we've got to be curious and ask questions, not just make an assumption. Let's just double our meeting time together, and that person goes from being checked in with to feeling micromanaged. Actually, it had the opposite effect of what I wanted.
Now more time is not the gift that you think it is. It's just annoying.
Yeah, or it occurs, it's like, well, you don't trust me, which is the opposite of what you meant. And again, obviously, most things we can do can have a pros and cons list. But that's why sometimes curiosity of what would actually more mean. Is it more time or more intentional time together?
Right. So Chris, I think you're hitting on something really important that when we talk about using a calendar as a measurement tool of our relationship, that we can't just draw a straight line and say more is always better. People figure out how they show up on your calendar. And yes, while they value that you're being intentional, you've made time, you're protecting that time, I'm on your calendar, I appreciate that. But if I only ever get this rigid time, I know that's where I fit. And then I wonder, am I on the calendar the same way Costco is? Right. Or the dog's got to get a haircut. And it's like, okay, yes, I'm just one thing like any other thing on this person's calendar. And if I'm only showing up the same way and it's the same 45 minutes and then it's cut off because, sorry, like I have no margin to give you 10 more minutes because I got my next appointment and I got to get through all these people. Don't you realize how many people I have to care for? It's like, all right, well, yeah, I guess you do. You're important and you're busy and I know I just fit here. Can we use our calendar as a tool to communicate to people that not only have I set aside time, but I also have margin for you? I haven't booked my next appointment right after this one because I know sometimes things come up and we need time to talk. So I'm going to create a buffer. Maybe it won't go long, but if it does, I've got another half an hour for you. And, when the person says, well, don't you have to go? I'm like, no, this is important. Let's give it some more time. Whoa, that communicates a lot. Or, hey, you know what? Let's find another time right now. Let's not wait till our usual time next week. Let's find another time. When can you do it? And now you're communicating, hey, now I'm battling and I'm fighting for other time in the calendar because we have more to talk about and we have more to cover. And I think when a person realizes, I don't just show up in this rigid little spot, that there's actually room for me on this person's calendar, or at least they're going to fight for it. Even just the battle to say, can we find other time, communicates a lot to someone that you want. You wish you had more time, and you're fighting for it, and you're going to do whatever you can to get it.
Exactly. I think that it communicates the priority and the desire. Even if the capability comes second, they can see that, but they were a part of that journey with you. I think it communicates all kinds of things about your relationship, that you can break out of your bi-weekly spot or what have you, and that you'd want that, look forward to it. So I just wanted to clarify something. I know I've got some of my A-type friends that are listening to this.
They walk among us.
Yeah, they do. And they're awesome, right? They're very scheduled people. And their goal may not be trying to give everyone the exact amount of time, like equality across everyone. I don't want to give this person 15 more minutes than that person. What they're trying to do is, hey, I've got a framework. I need to use my time wisely. I need to schedule things appropriately. And I love that. I love the fact that that's their heart. That's what they want to do. And they may be hearing this saying, well, now I need to open source my calendar and anyone can take up 45 minutes of my time anytime during the week. I need to move to a different system, a different framework where it's all open. And I don't think that's helpful or healthy. Maybe in some industries that kind of makes sense, whatever you, but I don't think it's like the all or nothing, like have structure and framework and don't, it's just mayhem. It's just about saying there's sometimes in our calendar that's white space that we can actually like prioritize using that for the conversations and the meetings and time for people that's going to really move the needle forward and change things for you. That if we schedule it up to fully and there's no leeway, you've kind of handcuffed yourself a little bit with the extra 20 minutes that this person needs. It's not even viable or not even an option. And so sometimes in that effective use of time, we've squeezed out the ability to continue something that really matters or something that you want to prioritize. We've taken it out. So it's not throw away the whole system. It's to give it some breathing room for actual healthy relationships to grow and to be formed, rather than trying to keep it consistent every single week. Or maybe the consistency for you, if you're that A-type, is to give yourself a couple of white spaces that you can move around for the critical conversations with certain people, whether that be a tough one or a really fun one, where you're just going to get a bounce around ideas with a couple of people. Like you would for, if all of your time, family time was taken up and there was no margin, then one of your kids was going through something, you would have to break up that plan to make margin for that kid that needed it, right? You need to be there for your son. You didn't make the soccer team. You've got to be around. You're going to have to break it up. So we're trying to apply that idea, but to your teammates at work.
Yeah, I knew a young man once who said, I feel like one of my dad's clients.
Right.
Because he was scheduled that way. And the dad was trying to do a good thing, making sure he had time on the calendar for his son. And he was a busy guy, CEO. And but the kid figured out pretty quickly, I'm slotted in. And it's like, you almost have to fight to create the space that isn't so rigid. So this is going to stretch some people more than others. I know we're picking on our A-type friends, but if we want to lead people relationally, it should not surprise us that different people are going to need different things at different times. And the more that we know our people, not just as cogs in a machine or workers, pulling levers, the more we know them as whole people, we're going to know when we need to create margin for people. They're not all going to fit in the routine. I give everybody 1 hour a week and I knock them off and everybody's just going to stay in that container.
I think that even sometimes we make a plan for 2 weeks, a 2-week schedule and what have you, and then we look back on that plan and say, how did we do? Did I do the plan? What if a sign of success is we interrupted the plan a couple of times very intentionally for great reasons. And we saw that as a win, not as I didn't get my scheduling quite right. And it's like, no, you had a great framework, but then you were able to interrupt it for greater things, greater reasons. And that was part of your success, not a failure or feeling like that. Anyway, that's just a thought to comfort our friends that like the structure, and also to help some of our other friends that need a bit more of that structure and understanding to be able to use their time wisely and get stuff done.
This is the double-edged sword about the calendar tool, is that it is a schedule. It is time slots. You're taking people and you're pigeonholing them in a time slot. So there's something actually really inflexible and unrelational about that right out of the gate. And so how do we use it not to be an impediment to being a relational leader, but actually an accelerator? But we got to work with the tool and know its limits. It can be great because we can put time in and protect it. So in that sense, it can be an accelerator, but it can also work against us if people know I'm just slotted in like anything else and they're just checking the box and then they just move on. I'm just part of a routine. I'm not really seen or known or whatever. I'm just another task in their week. And we want to show up better for our people. We know because when we've had bosses or leaders that have shown up differently for us, we know when they enjoy this dynamic and the conversation can go where it needs to go because there's time for that. So that's why calendar, it's just a tool, and it's only one way to look at relational health because it doesn't tell the full story. And so it works in conjunction with all the other 7 C's to measure the health of a relationship.
Yeah, and as we're heading down the home straight here, as always, trying to land the plane on this, it's I think calendar is not a complicated thing to understand, but maybe when you're using it as one of the C's, it's another way to look at relationships and how they show up and how they're being prioritized. And I think that calendar is a very tangible, practical way to be able to maybe highlight something to us about where they're showing or how we're showing up for someone and how that's impacting them and the way that you see them and they see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess it depends on your context, how creative you can be and what would be appropriate in terms of doing things outside of work or showing up in different ways. We're not telling people to be weird or do something that's so out of sync it's just going to throw people off. But I think if we just look at the calendar, we don't want to just assume, well, they're on the calendar, so check mark.
Right.
How are they on the calendar? Are they always on the calendar in the same way? Are they just getting my D time, or can I give them some C and B time? And so, yes, would there be a time where you say, why don't we get our families together on Saturday and let's take the kids to the park and just let them play and let's just catch up on some other things.
How else do you build trust with people in knowing who they are and how they operate? We don't have to be everyone's best friend. That doesn't work. But it gives you a context and understanding of someone. So then you can actually lead them in ways that work for them. Some people like the rigidity of it. And they really appreciate that, and that works for them. Someone else doesn't. So then this frees you up to be able to then accommodate people where they're at and you to actually enjoy that and get the most out of it.
Well, and you raise a good point. For some people, you care for them by respecting their time. And you're not trying to push for more. It's actually about saying, I want to respect this person's time so much because they have a lot on their plate. I'm going to make this a very well thought through 45-minute check-in. And then I'm going to put on my calendar a couple other touch points. It's not a time block. It's saying, hey, shoot this person a text message to just encourage them on Friday at the end of a busy week. But that's on your calendar. So that counts too. That it's not always like, let's have heart-to-heart time and we just need more. You can put on your calendar even the little things to just make sure that you're doing them. That's showing up on a calendar. Yes, I meet with this person here, but I check in with them 2 other times in 2 other ways. I give them a spontaneous phone call, or I shoot them a text, and one is work-related and the other's just fun, because I just want to make sure that they know I don't just call on them when I've got stuff to tell them to do. People figure that out real quickly. Oh, I get his time when he has more for me to do. Well, so we can be intentional about that. That can be on the calendar.
Absolutely, because then that's how you show up for them. They know that you come to me with problems or a challenge, and that's it. And it's like, oh, I'm your problem fixer. And again, that could be good fun, or that could be seen as not great, or depend on how you approach them and talk to them about it. Because if they know that, but you make a joke out of it, oh, I'm calling you again, got another thing going on that I need you to solve for me because you're my fixer, and they could love that. But that doesn't become some weird expectation that they always have to perform, because then you also call them up to tell them something great that happened and there was a victory. And so then the call would be sometimes about, I need your help with a problem. Other times, this thing went really well that we worked on, just wanted to let you know. And then they might enjoy picking up the phone more to you.
Well, we'd love to know what you guys think. How do your people show up on your calendar? How can we use the tool of the calendar to be an accelerator of our relationships and our health? And not that more always equals better, but it's how people show up on our calendar. So we'd love to hear what you think. Get out there, hash it out with somebody, and let us know.
And try a couple of things, and especially tell us the things that don't work as well as the things that do.
Awesome. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Hey, thanks guys. Join us again soon for another conversation. But in the meantime, it's your turn. Get out there and walk alongside the people that you're leading. Visit us at leadrelationally.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more support.